Everybody, and welcome to our early comics preview video. I'm Andy.
I'm Matt.
We're here with Infinity Flux Comics out of Chattanooga, Tennessee, and this is our big show where we show you all the books we think you care about that are coming out this week, so you get a little bit better idea of what you're looking for when you head into your comic book shop, or you place your orders, or whatever you do, however you do it. Just a reminder, since we are with Infinity Flux, you can head over to infinityflux.net right now where you can follow along. You can do your ordering right there. You can pre-order books, and everything you pre-order you get 10% off of. But more on that in a few minutes. We've got some really good books for you this week, like some pretty big ones.
Oh, yeah.
Ones that we have been anticipating for a while.
Starts of things, revelations of things,
So you'll want to stay through this whole thing, because I've got books even at the end that have pretty significant impacts and speculator bits, and the best part, really good reads.
That's right.
So let's get started with one that we actually both read.
Yep, we both read.
And I'll let you helm this ship.
Sure thing. We're going to start with Titans Beast World #1, written by Tom Taylor with art by Ivan Rice, so you know it looks good and
It looks like an event.
It does.
When you
It
put
really
Ivan Rice
does.
on it, it feels heavy.
It really does. So this is the start of the Beast World storyline that we've been hearing about for a few months now. This is going to run. It's going to be a 6-issue thing. It's going to run through the main Titans Beast World title, and there's also going to be I think 4 or 5 different one-shot tie-ins as well, but those aren't out yet, so it's just this one today. But at the beginning of this, the Church of Eternity, which has been a factor in Titans, the new Titans book that's out, I think it's got like 5 issues out now, they broadcast the launching of astronauts into space. They are sending them to Saturn's moon, Titan. So
very apt.
Yeah, right. Because they say that Titan actually has an atmosphere that can support human life, and we've ruined our planet and that kind of stuff. So they say, you know, we're trying to find a new home for humanity. That's what they tell the world anyway. But what really is it's a ploy to awaken a cosmic entity known as the Necrostar, and apparently this thing has been around for millions and millions of years. Well, then the Necrostar, and it looks like a giant. Well, you guys know Starro, right? And Starro does kind of figure into the story a little bit, but it looks like that, but bigger and meaner is what it looks like.
Yeah, maybe a different. I'm not up on all my starfish, but it would be another species of starfish. It's got more like little tendrils coming off of it. But definitely, it makes Starro look like a cute little guy.
That's right. It really does. So you know the Titans are watching this because it's being broadcasted around the world, and they say, "Oh shoot, we got to go save the astronauts." So Starfire, Raven, Cyborg, and Donna Troy, they all boom tube to Titan, and when they see the Necrostar, they realize, hey, or when I guess Starfire sees it, she realizes what it is. She says, "Hey, this thing wiped out half my planet 30 million years ago. We need to get out of here." So they do. They leave and they pull all the heroes of Earth together, and they say, "We got to stop this thing, or else it's gonna be bad, and it's gonna be in Earth within like an hour." And it arrives on Earth, and it starts dropping these things called necrospores down on the planet, which are basically little versions that they like get in people's mouth and like take them over, that kind of thing. And it's actually Beast Boy who comes up with a plan to stop it. It's a very unconventional plan. It's very creative. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but it's his plan. He has this plan to come up that he comes up with to stop it, and they go to execute that plan. But there's an unforeseen circumstance that interferes with that plan that basically is what the cause of the Beast World is going to be. And if you don't know, the crux of the entire Beast World story throughout these 6 issues and the tie-ins and all that is that most everybody on the planet gets turned into a beast, like a big animal, like we've seen on the cover to #3. I think we talked about it last week. Batman gets turned into like a big bat-looking creature, I guess.
Yeah, Black Adam's gonna get turned into like a lion-headed monster.
So yeah, everybody gets turned into these humanoid beasts, and the thing that causes that to happen is in this book. So if you want to read this, definitely don't miss it. I mean, it's the first part, so yeah, you definitely don't want to miss it. But you know, he comes up, you know, Beast Boy comes up with a great plan, but he has no way of knowing that this other thing is going to happen. and then that just screws up everything
Yeah,
basically.
and it's hard to talk about this without giving away kind of the big thing that happens or like what the turning point is.
Right.
But I thought it was really good. If you've been reading Titans, especially this last issue, it kind of it sets you up for what's going to happen in this one. But you don't have to have been reading Titans, I don't think. Basically, that first page is like, Titans was like a prequel to that first thing where you realize, Brother Blood has become Brother Eternity
Yeah.
and all of this. But if you're just jumping into this, you could basically figure your way
I think
out of
so. Yeah,
this.
it's not so dependent on you reading Titans, but if you have read Titans, it's like, oh, that's what that is. Oh,
Yeah, and at
yeah,
one point, I think it's Beast Boy that's like, whoa, the cult leader turned out to be evil. Who saw that
yeah,
coming? And it's
yeah.
like, yeah, we all kind of saw where this was
Yeah.
going. But I think what's really strong in this is the characters, their
Mhm.
interactions, how they, basically they're leading the characters that are the Justice League, even though the Justice League aren't around. But like, there's a point where Beast Boy suggests something, and Batman kind of snaps at him,
Yeah.
and they're like, no, like let him talk. And he's like, well, Nightwing, it's up to you. What do you think of this type thing? And it's cool to see the Titans kind of in that leadership role.
Yeah.
And they're not the Justice League. They do things very differently. I
Mhm.
think I heard a uh writer, I forgot who it was, but it might have been Tom Taylor talking about like what's the difference between the Justice League and the Titans, and it's the Justice League are kind of co-workers. The Titans are a family,
Yeah.
and they function like a family, and they care about each other like a
Yeah.
family, and you get a lot of that in
Mhm.
here.
Yeah, so it was really solid. It was a good start. We like I said, we've been hearing about this for a long time now, so it's good to finally see it get started. I'm really interested.
The art is
The art
fantastic.
is fantastic. I really want to see what happens and how they deal with it, basically. So another
It's
solid
even funny because I thought like this is kind of moving along at a pretty fast pace till you realize the first threat is not the
is
big
not the threat.
threat.
Yeah, something there's something
Yeah,
else.
yeah.
And it's well, yeah, I won't say anymore, but it's good. It's
It'll
really,
be
really
we
good.
can talk about issue 2, and we can discuss what
Yeah.
happens. Even some of your variants kinda give away some of it, but,
Uh
I think you have the lenticular cover there,
Oh, yeah. Ooh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so well, let's look at those. So that's our A cover right there from Ivan Rice. So it looks super nice there. We also have this Baron's cover with Nightwing fighting some spores.
It's cool because Starro is discussed in here and kind of what the differences between the Necrostar and Starro
Yeah.
are and kind of their history
Yeah,
together.
and
That's also
Beast Boy
cool.
has some cool moments too. Like
Some very
he does
cool
some really
moments.
cool things that we've not seen him do before. Speaking of Beast Boy, we have this Bruno Redondo Beast Boy variant. So that looks super good. We have this really nice art germ on a Troy variant.
Cyborg has some really cool moments in this too.
Yeah,
He opens some pretty big boom tubes.
he does. Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
And then here is the lenticular variant from Clayton Henry. And I don't know how well this is going to show up on camera, but so there's Beast Boy, but oh, there you go. So if that gives you any idea about what may happen, again, we're not spoiling anything. This is right there on the cover.
yeah. You can probably find the solicits for the later issues that tell exactly what happens, but I think experiencing it is the way to go
Yeah,
because
but
it hits a lot harder.
yeah, but we both really enjoyed it. So recommend a 2 thumbs up, or I guess 4 thumbs up since
Yeah.
both of us. But yeah, good start to a really cool story.
Yeah, so much I need to discuss with you about that. There's a part where something gets left behind in a boom tube that I think is going to come into play
Oh, that's right.
later.
Yeah.
Just a bunch of really cool stuff. But I love it because Blackest Night was like my introduction to reading comics on a regular basis, and to see Ivan Rice back on art,
Oh yeah.
it was like, this just feels like this is a big DC event.
Yeah.
Speaking of big events, but now we're jumping over to the Marvel side. We have Amazing Spider-Man Gang War First Strike. There's a lot of titles on there.
Hmm.
So, like with Titans, Amazing Spider-Man has been really leading up to
Mhm.
the Gang War storyline. So the way this is going to go is you've got this, which is kind of the kickoff point for that story.
Yeah, if you plan on reading Gang War, do not miss this issue. This is
I
where everything really starts.
Yeah, this is very important because some very big things happen in this. Like I really liked this issue, and it was a real page turner. There was
Yeah.
multiple big things that
Mhm.
happened that kind of keep the story just thundering
Yeah.
forward.
And this is just a one shot. Did you mention
Yeah,
that? Yeah, just so
it's
it's a one shot. It's like an alpha issue that just starts everything, and then the main story is going to be through Amazing Spider-Man and
through
some of the
Amazing
tie-ins.
Spider-Man, and you're going to be talking about some of the
Yeah.
Spider-Woman, just a couple of things here and there. But I feel like you're going to get your most gang war like kickoff in this issue. So this is I get my notes. So, of course, if you didn't know, there was the wedding of Randy Robertson, the son of Robbie Robertson, and Janice Lincoln, who was the Beetle.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
She's the Beetle, like the second Beetle
Yeah.
or whatever. They were getting married. Her father is Tombstone, but at their wedding, there was a big fight that broke out, and Tombstone was kind of he wasn't killed, but he was severely
He's in a
injured.
bad way, yeah.
Uh,
And that happened in Amazing Spider-Man 31, so
31.
that's
Yeah,
not
that's
what
not
the
in
yeah.
this. But that was what's setting up this
Mhm.
gang war. So then we go into this where that really messed up the relationship between Janice
And Randy,
and
yeah.
Randy. They've really split up. They kind of messed with that a little bit in the Amazing Spider-Man book. But what that leads to is there's now a power vacuum in the gangs of New York. Not to be confused with the movie. Uh, but the seat that Tombstone was in, they're kind of all vying for that kind of top dog in the gang. So you've got Hammerhead, you've got
Diamondback,
Diamondback.
Mr. Negative was in there.
Shang-Chi was in there
Yeah.
because he's the leader of
The
the
Five Weapons
Five
Society,
Weapons
yeah.
Society. So you've got all these people kind of vying for this one spot, but that's when Janice shows up and is basically like, I'm actually going to take my father's seat. That doesn't go over too well. Everyone else is like, we've kind of earned this
Mhm.
spot. But Hammerhead says, I'll tell you what, if you do something uh, that is pretty terrible, and it seems like a thing that it's like, well, she's not going to do that.
Yeah, it's not an impossible task, but it should be an impossible task for her
Yeah,
because of reasons. We'll
right.
say that.
But she easily agrees to this, and that's
Yeah.
kind of what kicks off this.
Yeah, she's like, "Give me a day." You
Yeah,
know?
give me a day,
Like,
I'll be back
yeah.
type thing. And this leads to a lot of gang conflict. It's hard to not give away some of the
Right.
big points of this, but let's just say that Tombstone is kind of out of the picture,
Mhm.
but because of other things that happen, some big twists and turns, there are some other major players that get taken out. There's some big reveals of characters you thought were gone that are back. There's characters that you thought would be around for a while, and they may not be around at all anymore.
Right.
But what this creates is kind of like that was the final straw. Literally gangs in the streets running after each other, big explosions. And where does this leave Spider Man? Because he's not out of this. Spider Man has been gone for a little while in Amazing Spider Man. He's been in different dimensions and he's been inside the bellies of other giant monsters.
Right.
He's just been gone.
Yeah.
But now he's back. And because of something Miles says to him, he basically says, like, I need to step up and be the hero of New York, even though legally we're not allowed to be heroes.
Right.
But this is where Spider-Man is going to go try to take out all these crime families by building a team. And I think they don't mention this, but in something else it says he's going to plan on doing it like 48 hours. Like
Yeah, I don't know where that
I don't
wasn't
know where
part of
the
this.
time
Yeah, I don't
frame
know
comes
about
from,
that.
but he does say like we've got to shut this down fast before it
Yeah.
blows over. So yeah, this all sets up the coming gang war, but there's some big kind of chess pieces played and taken off the board that you will need to read this to get. And I would say there's a moment where a character is revealed. You thought it was somebody, but it turns out it's somebody else, and they do a big move I did not see
I did
coming.
not see it coming.
And definitely, you go, oh yeah, I see how that's going to be really effective
Mhm.
in this war. So really fun issue. I don't want to give away too much. I know we're very cryptic about it, but that's why you got to go and pick up Amazing Spider-Man Gang War. And I'd say if you are reading Amazing Spider-Man and you are even slightly enjoying it, you should pick this up because it's going to make the next issues of this Definitely
Yeah,
an easier read.
Gang War runs through March, I think.
Yeah.
So that's what Amazing Spider-Man is going to be for the next 2 3 months. With the tie-ins, whether you get the tie-ins or not, I mean, it's Amazing Spider-Man is going to be focused on this. Um, Plus, what's really cool is like I like street level stories with mobsters and street level heroes and stuff. And it's been a long time since we've had a big street level
Mhm.
brawl like this. So this is a good street level story with street level heroes doing street level things. I mean, we've got our really fun, big cosmic stories too.
Yeah.
Let's have like just a whole bunch of mobsters fight
Yeah.
each other, and
They're
Spider-Man's
literally
gonna punch
running
them.
down the street.
They
No one's
are.
flying, no one's teleporting. They're just running each
That's
other
right.
with fists.
Yep.
So we've got some variants for this. We've got this really nice Nick Bradshaw variant.
Wait, is that Nick Bradshaw? I thought that was the Joey Vasquez. Yeah, that's the Joey
Oh,
Vasquez
this is the
cover.
Joey
Yeah.
Vasquez cover. Yep. We also have, of course, the video game suit variant. And here's the Bradshaw.
Yeah, that's your Nick
We've got the
Bradshaw.
1 in 25 Bradshaw variant that we're selling for $15.
I really like that.
Yep.
All right, so next up for me is Batman 89 Echoes #1. So this takes place 2 years after the last Batman 89 miniseries.
So it should be Batman 91.
But I don't know how much longer after, because it takes place after the last Batman 89 took place after Batman Returns, which was in 92. So this may
Oh.
be like Batman like 94.
We're getting to modern Batman.
That's right. Yeah, Batman's gonna have a smartphone before too long. But yeah, so if you read the last Batman 89 miniseries, that's set in the Tim Burton Batman universe. Uh, what would have, basically a spiritual sequel to Batman Returns. So this just comes after that. And like I said, Batman has not been seen for 2 years between the end of the last miniseries and this. So because Batman's not been around for 2 years, ordinary citizens have put on makeshift Batman costumes, and they're trying to fight crime themselves. It reminded me very much of the beginning of The Dark Knight from Christopher Nolan. You know how
Yep.
the guys are like, what makes us different from you? And he's like, I don't wear hockey pads, like that whole thing. Or he doesn't say that in this, but like there's regular people putting on pads and terrible masks fighting crime,
Yeah.
trying to fight crime in the streets. But but they're not doing so well, right? Because the 4 of those rogue vigilantes have been killed while trying to fight crime. And Barbara Gordon gets the call about it, and she realizes that she needs to do something about this. So she goes to talk to Bruce Wayne about it. And Alfred has to tell her, you know what? I don't know where Bruce is. He disappeared a month ago. I haven't seen him. So even Alfred doesn't know. I mean, obviously, Batman hasn't been seen in 2 years, but Bruce Wayne has been gone even out of Alfred's purview for the last month. So nobody knows where Bruce or Batman is. This issue also introduces us to this world's version of 3 other classic Batman villains. I won't tell you who, but it's cool to see the
Their take on
their take on those villains. Yeah. And so one of them does something bad, and there's one night where the police are chasing after one of them, and they apprehend him. But did they get the right person? I don't know. It's a strange ending that made me have a lot of questions as to what does this last panel mean. I don't really know. But yeah, just another solid entry. If you liked the last miniseries, I think you will really like this because, like I said, it's just a continuation. It's still written by Sam Hamm. It's still drawn by Joe Quinones. So the same exact team. It looks the same. It feels the same as the last one. So yeah, don't miss this if you like the first one. So there's our A cover right there. And we've got some variants. This is our Riley Rossmo. Is that right? Yeah, Riley Rossmo. That looks really cool. I like that quite a bit. Joker's not in this, but he's on the cover. We have this really cool McFarlane Toys cover with him on the Batcycle. Really like that. And then we have this 1 in 25 Braithwaite variant that we're selling
cool.
for $15. And yeah, that's very classic 1989 Batman right there. Looks just like him.
Okay, next up for me, I've got a pretty big one for X-Men fans. This is X-Men Blue Origins. Emphasis on the Origins part. So, I was explaining this to Matt before the show, and I could not do this concisely
It's
Uh,
bonkers.
it is bonkers. It is another crazy page turner. So this is written by Cy Spurrier, who is currently writing the Uncanny Spider-Man book, which it does have a lot of interconnectivity
Hmm.
with. But most of this is an origin story. So I believe we were talking about it. I'm not sure if it was the end of Uncanny Spider-Man number 1 or number 2. But at one point, Nightcrawler encounters Mystique, kind of in the park.
Yeah.
He's up on a tree and she's down below, and this takes place right then. So uh, apparently, like Mystique is running around. She seems very I don't know what you would say. Not herself. She's yelling about where's my baby or something like that. It's a very weird.
She was doing that in Uncanny Spider-Man
Was
too,
she doing
right? I
that?
think so, yeah.
So
That was weird.
Nightcrawler's kind of like, let me see what this is, because like to him, she's his mom.
Hmm.
But the story of Nightcrawler's origin is full of twists and turns, and we've heard multiple different things. Who he's related to? Is it Azazel? Is it Mystique? Or is it somebody else? And all of that. Well, that's kind of what this is about, because this is something happens at that moment, and you see Mystique's kind of mental. It looks like glass, and it's getting broken. It's almost like a barrier has been broken within her
Hmm.
mind, and that kind of unleashes her telling Nightcrawler the backstory of him. Now, I'm not sure how much I need to give away on this, but
I
it
wouldn't give
is.
away too
I'm not
much,
going too much, but I will say that this definitely rewrites Nightcrawler's origin.
for sure.
Like, like to it the thing with Nightcrawler, Azazel, Mystique, Destiny, all of that gets put through a completely different light, and you realize that there's a lot more to this story, and what you thought you knew may not be true anymore. So, if you're a big Nightcrawler fan, I think this is really interesting. There's a lot of like the history of Mystique and Destiny throughout time and what it meant, why Azazel was brought in there, and we kind of see initially the version of the story we thought we knew. You see these same panels. Here it's like 2 pages of panels, but the rest of the book, those panels are spread throughout, and you see the bits in between
Yeah.
that really amplify the picture. But this origin is something that maybe even Mystique had hidden away from herself. So this is really big. I feel like there's going to be some articles talking about
Yeah.
what this means.
This will be talked about for sure,
Yeah,
yeah.
you were even saying like, "Wow, I'm surprised this hasn't been spoiled before
Mhm.
this." But some really interesting stuff that I will say this is a one shot, so it does get wrapped up. There is kind of a nice like walking into the sunset moment, but this is going to change these characters going forward, at least kind of how they interact and everything. So big one there with X-Men Blue Origins. It is nuts, it's fun, it's a page turner, and it with a little sprinkle of confusion right on top. But I think a lot of this will be explained, maybe even in Uncanny Spider-Man going
Yeah.
forward.
Yeah, because there's still one or two issues left of
Yeah.
that miniseries.
So we've got some variants for this. We've got this Russell Dodderman variant. It's super cool with Destiny. And you have this just variant that's really nice with Mystique. I always like Mystique. I like Nightcrawler.
Yeah.
So the cast of characters in this was a very welcome
Yeah.
one.
All right, so next for me is a new book from Image called Crave. This is a new book from Maria Lovett. She did the writing and the art on this.
Looks all ages to me.
Yeah, definitely don't. I mean, there's wouldn't let kids read this, and in fact,
Okay.
we probably shouldn't even show the cover. It might be a little too spicy for YouTube. But I'll tell you what, though, the story starts right away on page one. It wastes no time whatsoever. So there is this prestigious university. I don't really. They hide the name. It's funny because they show like this like arch to the main gate into the university, but there's like foliage covering the name, so it's covered up and it says university whatever. So they don't
Fill
have
in
the
the
name.
blank with
Yeah,
whatever university you think it is.
yeah. So but all of a sudden, an app called Crave just shows up on everybody's phone because there's some like word balloons of kids saying like, I don't remember this app being on my phone yesterday. I wonder how it got here.
Like U2's album.
Right. 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 And basically what this app is you launch it and there's like it just has one question and then there's a text box and it says, tell me what you crave. That's it. And so all you have to do is just put in whatever you crave, and then the app tells you what you need to do to achieve that goal.
It's like a list.
It kind of it gives you like it only gives one example of what that actually looks like, but yeah, it tells go to the second floor, then take the elevator,
Mhm.
then press the button, that kind of thing. Don't know how it does that. That's part of the mystery of the book. And pretty much all of the students use it to hook up with other students. Like, I want to make out with so and so, and I want to, date whoever. And it tells them what they need to do to do that.
Sounds like school.
Right. But there are a couple times in the book where it says they put in they want to hook up with somebody, and it says, "I'm sorry, there is less than a 10% chance you will fulfill that craving." And
Oh.
then it's like, wah, wah, sorry about that. Um, so all these kids are hooking up with other kids on the campus and that kind of thing. But it almost seems like it's maybe a mild form of brainwashing
Mhm.
because one girl sees her boyfriend making out with a totally other girl and just walks right by him and doesn't even flinch, doesn't
Mhm.
have any type of reaction whatsoever. Just nothing. So there's something more there. And there's the main character of the book. His name is David. So David has a roommate who is like a computer science major, I think, and he hasn't been seen for a couple days. He may have been the one who created the app because the roommate leaves David a note that says, "Do not use the Crave app." Actually, I think this is the panel out of the book. It looks just like that. That's the note, and it says, "Don't use the Crave app." But David does not see this. It like gets like knocked on the floor or something like that. So there's definitely a mystery about this app. Who created it? How can it do the things that it can do? And those are unknowns. Those are things will find out as we read through the series. But it's really interesting. It definitely felt like a Maria Levitt book. And yeah, I mean, I want to know like, how can I get this app from? No, I mean, but it's
Seems like there's something really dark behind it.
maybe some supernatural stuff, maybe not. I don't really
Or
know,
some
but
super algorithm.
yeah, something like that. But it was really interesting, and I want to find out what happened. So there is our A cover right there from Maria Lovett, and all of these are from Maria Lovett. There is another cover right there. That's probably the least spicy one. And then there's this cover too. Kids, cover your eyes. David actually gets this picture on his phone through the app, and it says, "Do you want to see more? Yes or no?" And then that's
It's gonna
gonna
give him a virus.
yeah,
I know how that works.
that's I mean, I've heard that's how that works,
You've heard.
and that's gonna lead because this is a character in the book that he has a thing for, but like I don't know. There's a lot of unknowns, so I won't show the covers anymore. But it was really
It
good.
seems like a very Maria Lovett
Yep.
style book if you've read any of her other
Yeah,
works.
it is very much in her style.
They almost, I'm not sure, but they also have a very, like, maybe a European feel to a lot of her books.
Hmm.
They're just not your very traditional, the art's not very, like, traditional, American
You
comics.
know, I
It's
got that same thought about European because some of the dialogue seemed a little bit
translated.
have a little European flair to
Okay,
it.
yeah.
I even wondered, does this even take place in America? I don't
It
know if
might
Maria Lovett
not.
is American or not that it matters, but it did feel a little
Yeah,
bit different.
that's the thing about it. It all feels a little bit different than what you're accustomed to reading,
Yeah.
which is a good thing. Okay, next up, I've got Amazing. I said Amazing Spider-Man. It's
Amazing Superman.
Amazing Action Comics. It is an amazing issue of Action Comics, issue number 1059. So, this was a book that wasn't initially on my list to read, but I had seen some murmurs that this was going to be a big issue, and there is quite a bit in this. I feel like it's one that it needs unpacking. There's a lot of little things here and there that's like, oh, what's that mean? Oh, what's that mean? So in this, it is we're getting close to the end of this storyline, so I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but it does involve the Blue Earth, which
Mhm.
has kind of been the enemy in this, but a lot of people are like, they have a way of manipulating people to make them kind of pro Blue Earth and make the Superman and all of his family look bad. Well, in this one, there's a confrontation between Superman and Steel, as you see on the cover. Superman's wearing this like knight armor, which is super cool that he has to wear when facing off against the Blue Earth. And the Blue Earth also have very Superman-like powers at this
Yeah.
point, which it seems like they're somehow siphoning off the powers of the super family. But so that's kind of like what this part of the story is the fight between them and then kind of some of the fallout. Because we're getting towards the end, there's a lot of interesting things that's happened. One, the leader of Blue Earth confronts Otho Ra, who is Superman's new adopted daughter, and basically says like, I don't really care about Superman, I'm actually after you, and talks about her time on War World. And it's like, you had to do a lot of things that you're not proud of, but I have use for you, so I'll be back. And it's a very like weird, but like, okay, we're gonna be getting to some bigger stuff with them. The other thing I wanted to mention is the brother, uh, the adopted brother, refers to himself. They're just playing out in the yard, like just whatever. But he calls himself the Red Son of Krypton, which, if you know Superman comics, you know Superman Red Sun is a very famous one. So I don't know if they maybe that's a hint at a name he's going to take on.
Yeah,
He's
right.
Red Sun, and it comes with a lot of connotations with
Because
that.
there's like Red Sun, the Elseworld story, which was fantastic, but then there's also the Red Sun,
Yeah.
which prevents
Well,
Superman from having
he
power.
kind of refers to like he kind of gives a little explanation of like, I'm the Red Son of Krypton, the last whatever,
Yeah.
like, but he's playing. But I was like, oh man, what if they're hinting at what he's gonna be,
Could
the
be.
title he takes on?
Maybe
Um,
he'll get aged up. That would be great. No.
there is another really interesting thing that Lois is watching this news report where the leader of Blue Earth is being interviewed, and it's even kind of a page turn, but it's not. All this is like my speculation for it. But she does say like they're presenting themselves in a really interesting way. And you turn the page, she said, almost like a new Justice League. And so it felt almost a little bit like a Superman and the Elite, that kind of like
Oh yeah.
group of villain type characters that created New Justice League. I just thought this really interesting because we haven't seen the term Justice League in a
Right.
while. And then finally, the true identity of Blue Earth's leader is revealed, and it's actually pretty big. And I won't give it away, but I will say that it has something to do with Bruce Wayne, which is a character that has not been mentioned in this run
Right.
at all. So you'll have to read and find out. But uh, I don't know if all of these storylines are going to get wrapped up in the Action Comics annual that's coming up in a few weeks. But I would imagine some of it will be, some of them won't
I
be.
feel like maybe they will though, because they made a big deal out of talking about do not miss this. This is the end of this because at the start of 2024, Action Comics is going to be that whole Superman
Yeah.
Superstars thing with all the different creative teams. I feel like they need to wrap this up.
Yeah, unless they announce a spin-off book like Super Family or
Oh
something
yeah.
written by Phil
Ooh.
Kennedy Johnson. I don't know,
That would be
but
great. I would read that.
there's just a lot of interesting stuff that happens in this issue that I wanted to go over. It was a good issue overall. You've got your usual backup stories. You've got one with John Kent in it that was good. You've got the Keenan Kong story that was
Hmm.
good. But that main one had a lot of really interesting tidbits that I'll be interested to see how they play out going forward. So that is Action Comics 1059. We've got some variants for that as well. So we've got, this is the Mike Diodato Jr. variant. You got the whole Super
The
Clan.
Super Fam.
We've got this Cohen cover with Natasha Irons. We've got this really nice Jorge Jimenez variant. I always love his Superman
He does
stuff.
a great Superman. Yeah.
And then finally, we've got a 1 in 25 Tyler Kirkham variant that we're selling for $15.
Yeah. So if you're reading Action Comics, I mean, obviously you're going to pick this up, but this is could be seen as like the penultimate issue because we've got this, and then we talked about the Action Comics annual on Comics from the Future, I think last week,
Yep.
and they talked about how everything's being wrapped up. So we're almost at the end of all of this stuff. So you definitely don't want to stop reading now because it's all about to come to a head. All right, so next for me is Spider Woman #1,
Spider Woman.
and you can see at the top it says Gang War. So technically, this is a Gang War tie-in. I feel like they've written this, at least in these first couple issues, and thinking about Gang War First Strike. They've done a pretty good job of this does tie into Gang War. It doesn't really add a whole lot to into the main story. Um, so if you didn't read this, you could still read just Gang War. However, this also does enough on its own to where if you wanted to only read
Yeah.
this, you could still if you only want a Spider-Woman book, you could still read this and still get a pretty coherent story out of it without reading the other Gang War stuff. So it seems like, and I'll mention that again when we talk about Luke Cage, because um, they've done a pretty good job of making to where you can pick and choose whatever
Yeah.
you want to read, and whichever way you go, you're still going to get a good full story. But in Spider Woman, she is trying to track down Hydra to figure out what they're up to. Diamondback, who is one of the mob bosses in the Gang War First Strike, he's one of the ones vying for control of New York, that kind of thing. He's also working with Hydra, or he's working with Hydra to push his product, which is basically, I guess, like drugs, but they have like a special formula, that kind of thing. So there's that going on, but she's also looking for her baby. And this is the part where it's a little fuzzy for me because it seems like she only vaguely remembers her baby. And it seems like that other characters don't at all. There's a couple other guest appearances of characters, and they seem like they don't even know she had a baby. And I think that it's all related to the Web of Life and how she was unraveled from that during the end of the Spider-Verse storyline. I'll tell you, one of them is Julia Carpenter. She pops up for a minute and she says that there is something missing from the Web of Life. And so, yeah, it seems like Spider-Woman's child has something to do with that, which is weird because in that one issue of Amazing Spider-Man that gave us a peek at the Spider-Woman series, she very well knew. She's like, she was busting up some guy. It's like, tell me where my son is. She's very Mel Gibson in Ransom. Give me back my son. She's
I wonder if it's a little bit
like, maybe that happened later.
or it almost seems like maybe even in that she was like, "Oh, I definitely have a son," and then there's no evidence of him, and people don't remember, so she starts
Yeah, could
doubting
be.
herself
Could
because
be.
there's something in here she basically like confirms that he was real and is
Right.
like, kind of thank goodness
Yeah.
I wasn't going crazy.
Kind of like when, like, if you have a dream that seems really real. Maybe
Yeah.
she thought it's like, oh, it seems real to me, but maybe I just dreamt it. Oh, here's a thing that tells me that I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So more to come on the whole aspect of her trying to find her kid, because I will admit that was a little bit confusing, but I'm sure they'll flesh that out as the story goes forward. But she finally does track down Diamondback and Hydra, and she has to deal with them. But then afterwards is kind of where the gang war stuff comes in, and Spider-Man approaches her and says that he needs her help dealing with gang war. But yeah, so I don't know. Do we know if this is a mini series or
It's
an
a
ongoing?
mini series
Okay.
before a ongoing that's going to be coming up
Oh, okay.
later.
Okay. Well,
So I
there you
think this
go.
is like maybe 5 issues or something like that. That is, I wasn't quite sure why they did it that way, but I
Uh-huh.
think this is like basically Spider Woman Gang War, and
Okay.
then we're going to be getting maybe a new Spider Woman #1, or somehow it's going to continue into
Yeah.
a regular.
Yeah, and that'll be at least March before, because like I said, Gang War runs through March. So,
Yeah.
but just another, nice, a nice addendum to Gang War. But you could also read it on its own if you don't want to read the other stuff. So
I wonder if future issues maybe will tie in a bit more with Gang War,
they
considering
could.
what Spider Man kind of
Oh, you're right.
offers her. It
Yeah, I
seems
bet.
like it's going to be hard to avoid the stuff that she's going to
Yeah,
have to
you're
do.
probably right.
But I also say I really like the beginning of this issue where she faces off against
Yeah, that
Armadillo.
was fun.
It feels like really classic, almost like a really classic Amazing Spider-Man, but with like her just fighting a just kind of a mid-tier
Yeah, a
villain.
big dumb villain
Yeah.
who doesn't even really kind of want to be there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was good. It was a good, solid Spider Woman book. There was an A cover by Lionel Francis Yu. We got a couple variants. This is our Edgeker variant. I really like that one. And then this is our Bengal variant. And then we have a 1 in 25 Massafera variant that we're selling for $25. And I love that. That looks super classic. That looks
Yeah.
like 1970s. I love that. That's really nice.
Next up, I've got a fun one. This is Howard the Duck. This is actually his 50th anniversary book, so it is just a one shot, and it is bookend written by Chip Zdarsky, which I gotta say that was my favorite part of it was the bookends of this. So celebrating 50 years of Howard the Duck. It even starts off when you read. There's a really nice summation of like Howard the Duck as a character, where he's from, all of that. Do you even know what Howard the Duck's last name is?
No.
They talk about it in here. It's really funny. I won't give it away. If you didn't know, it was actually revealed in something else, but they bring it up multiple times in here. But it's basically ends the beginning part with saying Howard is an unlucky duck. But what if he wasn't? So in this story, we have um, Howard and Tara Tam, who I believe was a character in his last run, who's kind of his sidekick or whatever. And it is the year 2025. And
Okay.
it's really funny because just kind of how like Deadpool does this, Howard the Duck does this, they poke a little fun at Marvel a
Okay.
lot where they're with like events and stuff. So what is going on is the Great Hero War 7. And in the background, you see like a giant man punching a sentinel,
Okay.
and just everyone's going crazy.
It would be hilarious if that were actually a thing that Marvel's planning, and like you
Yeah,
get a little tease in this, but because it's in Howard the Duck, you don't think anything of it, but
yeah.
actually it's coming, you know?
Well, we've got six before that,
Oh
I
yeah.
guess. But in this, like Howard the Duck's like, I can't even keep up with what's going on. Like, what are we running from? And Tara's like, well, we're running from Cap Wolves and Blade Wilsons. And he's like, then what's that over there? And she's like, that's the undead pools. And he's like, oh, okay.
Oh,
Uh, and it's not a spoiler because it's just a goofy book.
it doesn't mean anything.
It
Yeah.
doesn't mean anything. So they run into a room, and there is Spider-Man holding uh, Hawkeye's body, and flying out of there. Clearly, Hawkeye has just been killed by the Dark Squirrels, which are it looks like Squirrel Girls squirrels, but they all have they look like floating Iron Man helmets with squirrel tails hanging out of them. Like they all just got Iron Man's real helmets and put them on. They're like floating out or whatever. And uh, Howard Duck's like, please stop all this. Like, this is nonsense or whatever. When that's where we meet our new character, one of the creepiest characters, not in scary wise, but in just he's a creep. Characters, the Peeper. And the Peeper says that he is Uatu the Watcher's cousin. And since Uatu is now the only Watcher, the Peeper now just peeps for as a hobby. And it's real creepy looking. He looks like a guy that you don't want peeping in your window at night. He's kind of schlubby, whatever, but still looks like he's one of the watchers. Just in like flip flops and like baggy sweatpants. Uh,
Casual Friday watcher.
but he's basically like, "Oh, I can show you the multiverse, and we can see how maybe other places have stopped this event from happening." And Howard's like, "Whatever." And even I think Tara's like, "Oh, the multiverse thing is a little overdone, but sure, whatever." But then we cut to the different stories, and it's not how this event could be prevented. There's stories about Howard. So first off, they're not called what ifs; they're called why ifs, like WAUGH,
Okay.
kind of like a duck. So first we get what if Howard the Duck and the all night party had won the bid for the presidency. So I forgot when that took place, but there was a time where Howard the Duck was running for president. And this is what happened if he did become president. And it's a whole story about him. Uh, and the Avengers come to him because there's this big alien threat. And they all get like taken away, and now Howard has to go confront these aliens. It's a fun story that's you know, of the time period. It feels like kind of a like an 80s
Yeah.
story. Um, Next up we have what if Howard the Duck became an X-Man? And it's really funny. You see how he gets his powers, and him getting recruited onto the X Men. He's got his own little suit, and he kind of goes to the different teams. Part of it, he's with the New Mutants. Part of it, he's with like the Uncanny team. It's really fun. Then we get what if Howard the Duck became the new Star Lord? And that's actually really interesting because it's set when the Thing and Venom were on the
Oh,
team.
okay.
And so you get a whole story with Howard. He's got like Star Lord's mask, but it fits over his bill and everything. That's really fun. Uh, and there's fun cameos and jokes through the whole thing. Characters that pop in and out from the history of Howard's life, and there's one that just has like Man Thing sitting on the side of the road, like It says something like will burn for food or something like that. It's really sad, but it's fun, and the jokes at the end of it where they basically get back and Tara's like, "That was all just stuff about Howard. What was the purpose of this?" It's fun if you like the kind of humory Marvel stuff. You like Howard the Duck, you'll like this one. It's just a one and done, goofy one shot. Nothing's a first appearance. I wouldn't say, oh, first appearance Howard the Duck is an X-Man. It's
Nah,
just a
yeah.
it's just a nothing. But had a really fun time along the way. So happy 50th anniversary, Howard the Duck. We've got some variants for this as well. Let's see. We've got this Woo variant where Howard is reading the new Deadpool book
That just came out a
that
week or
just
two
came
ago.
out.
Yeah.
We've got the Insignia variant, which I guess that's his
That's its
insignia.
symbol, I
If
guess.
he's gonna have a costume, maybe you can put that on the
Yeah.
front. We have this really cute Scotty Young noir cover. And we have this 1 in 25 Quinones variant that we're selling for $25, and that is Tara Tam on the cover too, in her suit and everything.
It bothers me that they do a multiversal what if story with Howard the Duck and they don't work in Leah Thompson or that whole from the movie,
Yeah,
you know? Like, they could have done something with that.
they may not have the rights to
That's true.
do that now.
All right, so next up, we're gonna stick with the gang war theme just for a minute. We're gonna talk about Luke Cage Gang War #1. So, just like Spider Woman, this is a tie-in, but it can also stand on its own unless there's more of that later. But so there's been a lingering subplot with Luke Cage anytime he pops up in any book, mostly in Amazing Spider-Man. That even though, well, there's the whole thing with the anti-vigilante act that Wilson Fisk enacted when he was mayor.
Like during Daredevil.
No, it was either Daredevil or Amazing Spider-Man, maybe
Okay.
Nick Spencer's run. I don't remember which, but or maybe I think it was Daredevil actually.
Yeah.
But so it outlaws vigilantes in New York, except for the Thunderbolts, which is what Luke Cage put forth, a year or so ago. But even though he's mayor, he's unable to get rid of that act. He just can't like sign it out of law or whatever. Like there's a whole lot of red tape that has to go through. So that law still stands. Well, there's one day where he's actually out on the street. He tries to help the police with a bank robbery. There's a group of bank robbers with high tech weapons, and he tries to step in and he like smashes a car that's going to hit some cops, and he's getting all shot up because he got the bulletproof skin. And he's like, wait here, I'll go in and get him. And a cop actually draws his gun on Luke Cage and says, I can't let you do that because it's against the law. And if you do this, then you're a vigilante and I have to take you in, that kind of thing. So he gets really frustrated and he says, no, I want to figure out who these guys are and I want to take them down. So he actually winds up putting on a costume, which Luke Cage doesn't wear a costume, right?
Yeah.
But he actually puts on a costume complete with a mask so that he can actually be out. I mean, he's still not going to go advertising himself in the middle of the day, but he can he can sneak around at night and do what he needs to do with a mask and a costume, and nobody can really definitively say, "Oh, that's Mayor Luke Cage." He has plausible deniability, basically. So he does track down some of the robbers, but he discovers that they're not exactly what they seem, and there is like a somebody kind of pulling their strings, which ties into gang war. So it's really cool. There's a couple of other heroes that he runs into as well, and they're gonna team up, I guess. So just just another nice addendum to gang war, helps round out the story a little bit, but not to the point where you must read this if you choose not to.
Yeah.
But it was cool. It was cool seeing him in costume because this is a new costume, and I don't know if he's gonna stick with it or not.
Is it
But
the little metal mask that we
yeah,
saw
the
in
metal
another one?
mask and like a gray sort of suit.
Cool.
Nothing super high tech and fancy, but enough to conceal his identity. But we have our A cover right there. We've got a couple of variants. So this is you can actually see this is what the body of it looks like. That's a Phil Noto variant, and it kind of looks like armor. It's not really, but it's just it's more like a really nice athletic suit.
Yeah.
And then we have this Davila
That one's
variant
really
as well.
cool.
Yeah, I like that one.
I think that's a connecting cover too,
Oh, okay.
with a lot of the high-end books.
Yeah, it could be. Okay.
Next up, I've got a brand new Assassin's Creed book. This is Assassin's Creed Visionaries. I'm a huge Assassin's Creed fan. I've played all of the ones that have been on like official consoles, not the mobile or the PSP or the Vita or any of those. But I have played all the ones, so I was very excited about this because this is an Assassin's Creed book that each issue, I think, has two stories where the creative teams on it, the writer and artist, get to create their own assassins.
That's cool.
Now, here's the interesting thing about this. So there's kind of an opening page of this with a letter or whatever from some of the people behind Assassin's Creed that talk about, if you're familiar with Assassin's Creed, the kind of motto is nothing is true and everything is permitted. That's like their that's the Assassin's Creed.
Okay.
And they said, well, let's take this and say what basically make this book that. So they said what that is nothing is true. So that means that this book is not in continuity.
Okay.
But everything is permitted, which the creators have full they can do whatever they want with
Okay.
this. They
I like
can
it.
destroy the assassins, they can rebuild them, they can do whatever. So based on the creed of the assassins is how this book is constructed, which I thought
Okay.
was really cool
It's
and
clever.
very within the
Yeah.
universe to do. So our first story in this is called La Bestia by Ali Santos and Rafael Albuquerque, which big fan of
Ooh,
Rafael
yeah.
Albuquerque, American Vampire,
Hmm.
worked on Detective Comics for a little bit, just great stuff. This is one set in Brazil in 1971, and it's kind of a freedom fighter assassin who works her way. Her name is Raphael, which is also interesting.
Nice.
She works her way into like the enemy stronghold by getting captured, and then you see how she gets out of that. A really cool story with great Raphael Albuquerque art. And our second story is set in 2119, so far in the future. And it's like a very high tech Assassin's Creed where our main assassin named Selena uh, can almost maybe like use bits of previous assassins because she talks about I think she says Altair's ability to hide.
Okay.
And so she's using little bits and pieces of different
Huh.
assassins for this story. So really fun. They're just one and done stories. You know, you're almost getting like little snippets of a bigger story
Yeah.
within theirs. You know, some have costumes, some don't. Overall, it's a really fun experience, especially if you're an Assassin's Creed fan. You like all the different iterations of the assassins. So this is our A cover. Got Cassandra on there, and got some of the
The one's from Syndicate, right?
Syndicate and the French one. Is it Syndicate?
That was the one with the four different assassins.
That's brother and sister,
Oh,
and
I don't
yeah,
remember. I get them mixed up.
yeah. Those are a little blurry for me because I like Ezio and I like
Yeah.
Edward Kenway and I like a lot of those. I love Odyssey and there's so many good ones. But so we've got some fun variants here and something funny to point out. So we've got these they're all by Yannick Paquette. They're connecting. So you see on this one we've got Ezio, we've got Kenway, we've got Avar. So that one's really fun. And then we've got this one that's got Ezio and Connor. I mean Altair and Connor. But then let's talk about this cover.
This one is bizarre.
So this one, my feeling is it's going to be recalled. So if you're a big like, I want to get things that are recalled or whatever. So you see this and the cover. It looks like a cover for Assassin's Creed: The Fall. That's actually an older book. I've read The Fall. It's kind of like a Assassin's Creed in Russia,
Huh.
an old Titan book, I believe. In the back, what this looks like a credits page. So this was supposed to be the gatefold cover that has all of the Yannick Paquette assassins on it. But the problem is the gatefold was printed on the inside.
Whoops.
So there's the barcode on the inside of the book.
So this was supposed to be the back page.
Yep, that's supposed to be the back, and
that right there.
you're supposed to be to like you can unfold it, and you can tell this went through a lot of production to be wrong because it's even creased going the wrong way, where this was supposed to be the inside cover and these were supposed to be the ads on the fold out part. So I have a feeling we're going to get an email any day now saying, don't sell these.
Whoops.
We'll send you replacements. But if you were one who pre ordered the gatefold cover, uh, you might have a little problem on your hands. So check with your store about what to do about that. We are still figuring that out as we wait to hear from the company about it. But don't be confused. This is not Assassin's Creed: The Fall. That's just an ad for an older book, and is the gatefold cover.
That is bizarre.
It's a
Like
very
I've
weird
never
thing how it
seen.
got through many levels, and it could be because that ad looks so much like a cover.
Yeah.
And then we also have this really nice Altair cover as well.
I remember like after the second or maybe the third one came out and it looked like they were moving up in time a little bit.
Yeah.
I always wanted to see an Assassin's Creed like modern day. And I thought, oh, one day we're gonna get our modern day Assassin's Creed. So that one that takes place in 2119
Yeah, they
sounds
just
pretty
jumped over
cool.
modern, and
Yeah.
they kind of did it. You played some levels as Desmond in the modern day, and then yeah, they've toyed around with that, but everything has mostly been historical.
Yeah. Yeah. I just always thought that would be cool. It's like, oh, you've got your early time games, and then as you go through more games, you finally get to modern. I always thought one day
Watch
there'd be a.
Dogs was kind of supposed to be that too, because Watch Dogs takes place in the same universe as Assassin's
That's
Creed.
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right. So next up is Alan Scott, The Green Lantern, #2. This one was fantastic. So this book takes place right at the end of the last issue. The last issue took place in 1941, but also flashed back to 1936. This one starts in 1941 with Alan Scott talking to his friend Derby about the dead body they found on the roof of, I think it was a bank last issue. Alan Scott knew who that was. We couldn't really figure it. We were a little bit confused by that, but clearly it was somebody that Alan Scott knew. So Derby is now saying, "Hey, who is this guy? Tell me who he is, how you know him, that kind of thing." And then the book flashes back to 1937, which is a year after the flashbacks from last issue. And Alan Scott has checked himself into Arkham Asylum to undergo conversion therapy, which sounds awful. But the military gave him that choice because they found out about his relationship with Johnny after the events of last issue. And all that craziness happened.
It's brutal that Arkham's the place for that too.
Right, yeah. So
Gosh.
the military found out everything, and they were going to kick him out because in the 30s, a gay man in the military, they weren't super thrilled with that. But because he was so heroic during the events of the last issue and saved lives, they said you can stay in if you go through this conversion therapy and cure yourself. Basically,
Yeah.
I'm using 1930s speak here. But
I see.
yeah, see, but yeah, so Alan he does that. He checks himself into Arkham, and the whole issue he is narrated as he's like writing in a journal, and it's kind of heartbreaking to read because in a couple of passages he actually talks about how he needs this to like cure or fix himself. He's starting to doubt who he is. Like he thinks that he's doing something wrong. Like that's what this place is making him think. They're in like group meetings, and they're like, the doctor that's leading it, they're like, your sickness is telling you that you feel this way, that kind of stuff. So he's starting to doubt himself and think that he's been in the wrong this whole time when really he hasn't. So he meets a friend there named Billy, and outwardly it's this big burly man, but apparently Billy wants to be a woman and uses she pronouns and things like that. But still, big burly man, with big mustache and everything. We see him or we see, I guess, her putting on makeup and stuff. So it's another person who is being forced. They were actually forced into Arkham to go through this conversion therapy, and they actually do. And when Billy comes out of it, they are a shell of their former selves. Like it looks like they've been lobotomized, essentially. And that's when Alan Scott realizes, hey, the things that they do here aren't good. I made the wrong choice. I got to get out of here, and I need to help other people get out of here too. Um, so I won't say anything else about how they get out or if they do or what all that's like. I will say that what's very, very cool about this book is that it butts up right to Alan Scott's first appearance in All American Comics number 16 from 1940. Like you could read the end of this and then go right into that. And some of the same events happen. The big train wreck, which is a big staple in Alan Scott's origin, like that's there. Another character that's in the original book is also in this one. We find, in the original book from 1940, Alan Scott's got this Green Lantern that he uses that eventually is what gives him powers. We see where he gets that lantern in this book. So the way that Tim Sheridan, the writer, made this seamlessly connect to a book that is 80 years old, like it's very, very cool. I really liked that part of it. Like when I was done with this, I actually went and read the first few pages of the original book. I was like, wow, this is one leads right into the other, and it's really, really cool. So I liked this quite a bit. If you like the first one, don't miss this one. It's a 6-issue miniseries. And it looks like we might get some action in the next, because there wasn't really much action in this, but it's still telling a really compelling story. But the end page, the last page, looks like some stuff is about to go down in 1941, which is the present day of this book, with Alan Scott being the Green Lantern already. So just a really, really good issue of Alan Scott Green Lantern. There's our A cover right there. And then we have this Travis Moore variant, which is also very cool.
Yeah, I don't think we can express how much we're enjoying all of the Golden Age
Yep.
books.
All of the new Golden Age. So this one, Jay Garrick the Flash, Wesley Dawes Sandman, all of them
Yeah,
fantastic.
like this is if they just wanted to branch this off and be like, we're just gonna do Golden Age
Yep.
stories now, I'd be like, great, love all these characters, keep these same writers, and I really hope all of this leads to more.
Yeah.
Like now I'm like, I wish these were miniseries.
Yeah.
These are great.
And it makes me like, I wish I could have a book like this of Wildcat and
Yeah.
Hourman and whoever else,
Just even like all my favorite
Yeah, I
characters.
mean, just give me or if all this led into I know there's just a JSA book right now, but if all this led into a new JSA book where they all come together and
You know that the current JSA book or Justice Society of America book is only 12 issues.
that's right, yeah.
I have a feeling we are leading to a new, uh, maybe since it's called Justice Society of America, maybe a new JSA
That would be
or
wonderful.
something like that, kind of like how Jeff Johns did
Mhm.
in the past. Okay, next up, I'm going to briefly talk about Green Arrow number 6. So this was a really fun issue. This actually wraps up the first story arc of this 12 issue run, and now I'm so glad that this book got extended.
Yeah, because it was supposed to be 6, so this would have been the end.
Right. And there's so much that like yes, this does wrap up like most of it, but I'm like now that this wrapped up, I'm ready to see like okay, go forward
Yeah.
now. So some really interesting stuff happens in this. An enemy who maybe you didn't even know was a bad guy in this. Maybe he's a character that's been there for a lot of this. Reveals themselves to be a bigger villain than we thought. So that was really cool. Once again, definitely within the Green Arrow sphere. Joshua Williamson's doing a great job at like being like, look, all these Green Arrow characters are really, really important. We also get, I mean, that's a big part of it is Oliver facing off against this villain. But also, it's not a spoiler to say that he does get reunited with his family. We know that from the next couple of issues that they get reunited, and I say that is one of the best things I've read in a while.
Oh, nice.
Is when you see him and Black Canary finally see each other again. It is pretty heartwarming.
They're one of my favorite couples in comics.
Yeah, they're good. But this is it. It's not all perfect here because don't forget, like Joshua Williamson is kind of one of the architects of DC right now. And we know that Amanda Waller has an interest in the Arrow family, and we see where that is heading at the end of this. And maybe not all the Arrow characters are walking away okay from this or at all, because this is definitely leading into more big Amanda Waller, Suicide Squad, all of that kind of stuff.
And she's going to play a big role in Beast World too. So I'm loving this. Amanda Waller's been a looming threat in a lot of DC books for the last several months, and I love that. I think it's so interesting because she's such a cool character.
Yeah.
Can't wait to see more of her.
So this is a great issue. We get some more art by Phil Hester, which I love seeing. Some classic Green Arrow scenes reshown with Phil Hester's art, which I love. But just overall, a fantastic issue of Green Arrow, the number 6. We also got some variants. So we have this Chris Samney variant. It's very cool with Roy. And we have this Omer variant. Yeah, Omer variant that we are selling for $40. This is a 1 in 25. Just gotta love all the Black Canary stuff in
Yeah,
this.
that's awesome. Oh man, I can't wait. That's one of my favorite books. I don't know. They're all of DC. Most of DC's books are my favorite books right
Where
now.
they reunite is great. How they reunite is great. It's just gonna warm the buckles of your heart.
My I got nothing to say there. All right, so now sticking with DC, we got Amazon's Attack #2. This is still in line with what's going on in the Wonder Woman book right now, with the United States' ban on Amazon's things like that. So after the events of last issue, Nubia, Yara Flor, Faruka, and Mary Marvel, they find themselves like in the middle of the street. I think it's New York, surrounded by cops. And there's a mysterious man that tosses a golden apple into the mix, and it kind of possesses the cops. It's what we saw in the previous issue, where like their eyes go yellow and they just start like shooting. So they basically get possessed. Um, it didn't make a whole like I was confused about that last issue, like who's doing this and why. But when Nubia sees that golden apple, she realizes who is behind it, and she kind of tells the others about that. So I was like, oh, okay, that's what that is. We finally know that. And then also the man who threw the apple into the works, he's got something implanted in his chest that Mary Marvel recognizes, and that tells her that there is more than one like top level villain involved in this. So maybe there's more at play here. And most of this issue is just the four of them trying to fight their way out of this situation. They do wind up somewhere at the end that looks like it's pretty bad news for them, that kind of thing. So there's a really cool moment with Mary Marvel in this as well. So if you're a big Mary Marvel fan, you'll like this. She does something really cool. But yeah, just adding more to the story that Tom King started over in Wonder Woman, and I really loved it. So there's our A cover right there, and then we have this uh, Danny, Danny
Danny.
variant with Yara Flor.
Very cool. Next up, I've got a pretty, I don't want to say big one, but the ball's in your court when I tell you about this
Oh
issue.
yeah.
This is Predator versus Wolverine, issue number 3. And for one thing, this is a super cool issue. So, as we're continuing kind of the present day, Wolverine fighting the Predator, we flash back to Weapon X. So we've got Wolverine. He's not very active for a lot of this issue because this is when he's like strapped down. He's getting worked on, and just right after he gets the adamantium grafted to his skeleton, the Predator shows up at the Weapon X base and like peels his skin back to look at it. And we kind of know that the Predator is very interested in this new technology. They're always looking to adapt from where they their hunts and
I
that
think,
kind of thing.
do you think it's pretty safe bet to say this is not in continuity?
I think it's pretty safe, but also it's not. It doesn't break continuity, which
Right.
I think is really interesting.
Yeah.
Because some interesting stuff is revealed in this too. So the Predator takes Wolverine back to his ship, to his trophy room, after he puts something in Wolverine's mouth, and Wolverine's entire face dissolves off. So for the majority of
Hey, when
this,
that happens.
he is just a skull
Uh,
head, which is awesome. Because even when he fights, he's just a skull head. It's just a cool look. But he takes Wolverine back to his trophy room because he's gonna try and take his skull and put it on the wall. Now here's where, and if you stayed this long in the show, where you get this bonus nugget that I'm gonna drop on you that I haven't heard anyone mention anywhere. So in his trophy room, if you remember classic Predator 2 was when we got the mounted on the wall for keen-eyed viewers a xenomorph head. This was like
was
the
it Predator 2 with Danny Glover?
Yes,
Okay.
that's when Danny Glover goes in there because we didn't go inside the ship in one.
Right.
Um, so that kind of was the start of AVP. The whole Alien versus Predator is what inspired like the Dark Horse comics later, and then the movies, and then video games, all of that. Now, I'm not telling you this is anything other than a fun Easter egg, but I think it's significant just because they were allowed to do this or the artist snuck it in because one of the skulls on the wall is a Rancor. So technically, if you want to get technical about it, this is a Star Wars Predator Marvel Universe crossover
Sold.
with a because it is pretty prominent. It's right in the center, and I knew exactly what it was right when I saw it. It's got kind of the pug nose, the eyes. It's got holes in its cheeks where its little extra teeth come out. I even Googled search Rancor skulls. And of course, there's not been an official Rancor skull because we don't see one in a
Right.
movie, but there's different video games and other things that have put it, and it's all just right around this design for one. So, is it going to lead to a crossover? I'm going to say 99% not.
Highly doubtful, but it would be
Highly doubtful.
cool.
But what is big is since Marvel got the rights to Star Wars, it has not crossed over with any other property because that's, I don't know, it's kind of a sacred wall that they put there to not mix those things. We haven't got variant covers that have Spider-Man and Luke Skywalker
Right.
on it. We haven't got any of that. When Marvel does their special series of variants, Star Wars is not part of it. It has its own. So this is the first time I've seen that wall crossed, even for a cameo, other than maybe Spider-Man makes a quip about Darth Vader and
Yeah.
something. But other than that, this is the first kind of like, oh, that actually feels like the next step beyond. Uh, it's beyond Star Wars being a movie in the Marvel universe. So is this anything? No, but yes. Uh,
It feels like, it seems super cool. It feels like it's probably a little Easter egg that the artist snuck in there
it's an Easter egg.
that either editorial didn't notice or they just allowed since they have the rights to all of it
Yeah.
anyway. It's just a fun little thing, but gosh, that would be cool.
It's those little things of like, oh, this little cameo over here, it's just always going to live on as, on a key collector or on a website, be like, oh, look at this fun thing.
Yeah.
So if you like that kind of stuff, and, I don't think it holds any weight, but I think it's a really cool thing. Plus, this is a great issue, and you realize maybe part of Wolverine's design is based on Predator, and you'll have to read and find out how that is. But that's where it's like you see it, and you're like, well, there's nothing that tells me this couldn't be true. So it's just really fun. This is continued to be probably one of the best franchise crossovers
Yeah,
I
it's
think I've
getting
ever
really
read.
good. Yeah, the first two are great.
It's just like it's a step above. It doesn't feel thrown together. It actually is a really solid story
Hmm.
that it's full of fun surprises and all that. So that is Predator versus Wolverine #3, and we've got some variants for this as well, as always. So we have this Wolf's Portaccio variant, which is very cool. Feels like that's straight out of like the Dark Horse era.
Yeah.
And then we have a Corey Smith variant, a 1 in 25. We're selling for $20.
Yeah, I can't wait through. That's been a fun series. I can't wait through that one.
This is probably one of my favorite ones so far. The Weapon X stuff is just really cool.
Yeah. All right, so next for me is Captain America #3. And in this one, at the beginning, Misty Knight asks Captain America for his help investigating a murder scene because there is a symbol on the wall that looks like his shield, and she thinks maybe he's the next target. But they do this really cool thing for a couple pages where uh, there's this cool thing where they show Misty Knight and Captain America talking about what may have happened, but then like in translucent blue, they'll show the characters that were there, like the guy who was killed and the guy who killed him, but it's all in the same panel. So Misty Knight and Captain America will be talking. They'll be drawn normally. The word balloons will look normal, but then in translucent blue, you'll see the victim and the killer, and their word bubbles will be kind of translucent as well. But it's all in one panel, and then the next panel it'll be flip flop. So where Captain America is in translucent blue or yellow or whatever. So because there's this whole thing in this issue about how time is an illusion basically, and everything happens all at the same time, but yet we have to section it off. So like everything happens all at once, but we have to tell our mind that now is happening now and the future is going to happen later, that kind of thing. So not really relevant to the overall story. I just thought it was a cool visual. I haven't seen that in a Captain America book before. But we do get another flashback of Steve Rogers when he was young, like before he gets the super soldier serum. And he's at a rally he's in New York, but it's a Nazi rally because there were Nazis in America during World War II, trying to get more people to their cause, and Steve kind of stands up to him. Well, he's actually noticed by a mob boss who also wants to take down the Nazis, and he says he kind of recruits Steve Rogers to work with him to work against the Nazis, and he says like, obviously we can't take on the entire Nazi armor, but we can make sure that if they have a shipment of food or weapons or something, maybe the truck gets lost on the road or something like that. So he's gonna do that. And then we also see the creation of a villain known as the Emissary, who it looks like that's the big bad that Captain America is going to fight. It is related to the demon as modal or something like that. I can't remember the name of it from the first couple issues, but yeah, it looks like a very powerful enemy that Cap is going to have to face off against. So just another solid issue, Captain America. If you've been reading the first two, don't miss this one because it's just continuing that story, and things look like they're ramping up soon. So there's our A cover right there. And then we have a couple of cool variants. I really like this Phil Jimenez cover. Those characters do not appear in the book. And then this is a really nice Nick Klein Stormbreaker variant as well.
Very cool. And next up, I'm going to talk about the final issue of Miss Marvel, the New Mutant. This is issue number 4. Of course, written by Iman Vellani. Very cool. And not a whole lot to say about this. It is a cool wrap up. We do get Kamala facing off against a Stark Sentinel.
Oh, nice.
It's a cool fight.
Yeah.
With the help of her friends and everything. That's really nice. I will say, uh, it is not like her mutant ability does not come out in this one.
Okay.
So if you're waiting till the end to see if that's the big thing that happens, it does not happen. But I will say it is addressed.
Okay.
And it's addressed by a very cool mutant character that I've really been enjoying in a lot of the books. But this person does tell her that there is something in her mind that can basically, open up the doorway to her mutant ability. But something every time she kind of uses her inhuman powers, it kind of snips that off. So anytime it's starting to bloom, it gets cut off.
Huh.
She says that what could happen though, when Miss Marvel finally accepts her mutant ability, it could override her inhuman ability, and she'll only have the mutant ability.
I don't want that to happen.
So, I mean, I'm still on the side of I think it's going to end up being the power from the movies and the show.
Yeah.
That's going to be like, well, she does the same things with, but now it's these like barriers she can create,
Yeah.
and these little stepstones and all of that. But it doesn't happen in this one. But it is a really good wrap up of this series. A lot of fun action in this one, and I'm just looking forward to wherever Miss Marvel goes next. So that is our A cover. We got some good variants for this.
Yeah,
so we've got this Chris Samney homage variant to New X-Men #1,
Yeah.
I believe. The Grant Morrison one. And we have this variant, which is an homage of the #1 cover for
Miss
Miss
Marvel,
Marvel. I can't remember if it was that one or it was a variant, but yeah, where it's usually
Excuse
her
me.
standing up there, but very cool one too.
All right, so next for me is Flash #3. Now, guys, I will be completely honest. I kind of had a hard time. Been having a hard time understanding what's going on in this book. So I don't have a whole lot to say about this because I don't quite get it. It's a little bit too cerebral for me. But I can tell you that Max Mercury shows up.
Oh, I love Max Mercury.
Yeah, he's a big part of this issue. He shows up to help Wally figure out his new powers, I guess if you can call it that. Wally seems to have this ability to be able to, they call it viewing the world at different angles. So it's almost like if you were to stand there and look at Wally West the Flash, he would like vanish. And then he would appear in like a different realm. He's not time traveling, he's not speed traveling or anything like that. But it's almost like they keep referring to them as layers. So I keep thinking about I thought about it as like a layer of an onion, layers of an onion
That he can like move.
that he can
between.
move through because at one point Max Mercury says he was able to use the Speed Force to access a spirit realm, but he's still right where he was standing on in the real world, but it's a different realm, it's a different phase of the planet, I guess. So, and a lot of the book was this just them trying to figure that out, and as they move through different layers. So but again, I had trouble understanding it, so I can't really tell you too much about it. But we wanted to go ahead and just let you know that if you've been reading the Flash and enjoying it, it is out this week, so don't miss it. So that's our A cover right there. We have some cool variants. We have this Ramon Perez variant. And then we have this Mike Diodato Jr. variant featuring the Folded Man. And then we have this 125 Ward variant that we're selling for $15.
And for me, I have Conan the Barbarian issue number 5. So this starts off a new story arc in Conan, and the art duties are going to be switching back and forth between De La Torre and Doug Braithwaite,
Mm,
who steps on this one. Which, if you have any worries, have no worries because the art in this is
yeah,
fantastic. Doug Braithwaite is a classic
he's great.
artist. So this one is really cool. This story takes place after the death of Conan's kind of one true love, Belit, who was the pirate queen of the Black Coast.
Yeah.
Very, I mean, I don't know if there's a more classic Conan story than that one. Maybe the Frost Giant's daughter, but they're very close to being the top. And this actually now finds Conan kind of drunk and just fumbling through the streets after her death. We get a good wrap up, like recap of their time together. But he's now working with a band of thieves, and those thieves get a job, and he's kind of like, I'll go along with it. He's kind of in that state of like, I don't care what happens
Yeah.
to me.
I'll just do whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. So he gets tasked to, or the group gets tasked to steal something back from the god of stolen goods. So this is a really fun kind of the Conan goes through a lot of aspects. He's a pirate, he's a king, he's, an adventurer, he's a monster slayer. This is his kind of thief time period. He's in his thief era, if you will. Um, but this is a really fun issue, and like any Conan story, you think it's going one way, but there's a supernatural element sprinkled on the top. You're gonna have a blast with this one, and I'm just happy to say Conan continues to be one of the best books on the shelf.
Love it. I've been loving it so far.
So we've got some great covers for you. We've got this Puebla variant. And it feels like kind of the shadow of Belit is going to be over this whole thing.
Yeah.
It's kind of what's constantly on his mind. This is the Liam Sharp variant. Very ripped Conan.
It's like looking in a mirror.
I know. You modeled for that one. We've got this Patrick Zurcher variant. We have this. Speaking of De La Torre, we have the De La Torre variant. And we have the Virgin version of that. Very beautiful. And finally, we have a foil version of the A cover. So many options.
Yeah.
So hard to pick.
Get them all. All right, so next is Moon Knight number 29. So this is the penultimate issue of this run of Moon Knight. There's only one left. The last days of Moon Knight are almost over, as you can see. And in this one, I mean, everything's coming to a head. I mean, if you've been, now would not be a good time to jump on the book because they're right in the middle of the big final battle. You've got Moon Knight facing off against the Black Spectre, and the Black Spectre's identity is revealed in this. You've got Reese, who is his, like assistant, kind of vampire assistant at the Midnight Mission. She battles Zodiac in the Midnight Mission, and something really cool happens there. Hunter's Moon takes on Sarnak, which is one of Black Spectre's kind of like goons or right hand man or whatever. There's Soldier and Tigra are in this. So they're all these final battles are happening. They're trying to stop Black Spectre's big plan for destroying the city. So it's all coming to a head, and it's probably not going to end well for Moon Knight based on what we know is going to happen later. But yeah, so just a solid next last issue. There's our A cover right there. We got a couple variants. This is the In-Hyuk Lee variant. And then we have this 1 in 25 Coelho variant that we're selling for $15.
Very cool. And my final book is Giant Robot Hellboy. I really enjoyed this one. This is actually the variant. I think this is the Jeff Darrow variant because I could not find the A cover.
I don't
But
think we got any A covers.
we might have been. I think they were in a separate box
Okay.
that maybe was delivered today. I don't know. They
Uh,
were separated. But I still got a chance to read this one. It's just really fun. You know, I put it last just because there's not a whole lot to say about it other than it's just a super fun book. The source of the monsters Hellboy's fighting is revealed. But something really interesting happens. Hellboy breaks free from the robot contraption
okay.
that he's not inside the robot, he's like being mind controlled.
Yeah.
He breaks out and starts just like swinging his fists like crazy, but then why does the robot keep doing its own thing?
Mm.
And the kind of facility that's watching all this starts getting some other characters appearing on their screen that aren't Hellboy, but they are related to the Hellboy universe, which was it really set up like, oh, this is going a different direction than I thought. But really fun issue of Giant Robot Hellboy, and this is the variant cover for that.
Very cool. Well, my last one is Detective Comics number 1078. So this is part 3 of the 5-part Outlaw storyline, and it's been really cool so far. Can't really say too much about this issue without spoiling some stuff, but we do know that this story arc is all about the Orgums. They're going to publicly hang Batman, literally like take him to the gallows and hang him. And I mean, we've already known why they're doing this, but it talks a little bit about what hanging somebody symbolizes. It talks about that at the beginning of the book, so you kind of know why they're doing this. Um, so he is right there, ready to be put up in the gallows. But Catwoman and the allies that she has brought together, they enact their plan to save him. But as you might suspect, things don't quite go as planned. But it's very cool seeing the plan that they put together, and like one character is going to go take out some guys here, and then Catwoman's up on a building, and then this other character is going to take out this thing. It's really cool. I love those kinds of stories, like a rescue plan, that kind of thing. So they are trying to rescue Batman from being hanged. So there is the A cover right there. We got some cool variants. This is the Jason Sean Alexander. That's your interior artist for this story arc, and it looks really good. We've got this Sebastian Fumara variant. We've got this McFarlane Toys variant. And then we have a 1 in 25 Sharp variant that we're selling for $10.
I feel like Bruce Wayne in all his training would train his neck to be like strong enough to withstand a noose, but who
How
knows?
do you train for that?
You just put a weight on your neck and you just do this.
Let's say
I think that was a thing that people like criminals did in the past.
Oh,
Like
really?
they would try to beef up their neck so it wouldn't kill them when
Huh.
they got hung. And there's something about like if you hung there long enough, they had to like legally let you free. If you survive
Oh,
that,
interesting.
no, I could be making all that up.
That could be something in this book later.
Interesting.
Could be something.
Okay, so that is it for our show. This was a really big week with a lot of stuff to talk about, but hopefully you stayed with us. If you stayed with us, leave us an emoji of a.
What about a cheeseburger?
Is that one of them?
I think so.
Okay,
Yeah.
I always use it as a hamburger. Okay,
Or a
leave-
burger, whatever the burger is. Yeah.
whatever your style. Leave it in the comments, and thank you so much for watching. Remember to head over to infinityflux.net and pre-order all your comics there. Stay tuned for our show coming up on Wednesday. We'll be going over some of the comics that you can pre-order early to make sure you don't miss out on any of the goodness. And until then, see ya.